Mikal and OG to the Knicks? Rockets potentially wanting to get KD, and a lot of NBA stars have already signed back with their team. This and much more on today's episode of Big Basketball News. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to episode 2 of this weekly news series called Big Basketball News. If you didn't check out episode 1 that I did a couple days ago, I would highly recommend checking it out. It's completely fine if you didn't. It doesn't really have to do anything with the second episode, but if you're interested in seeing what news I talked about, make sure to go check it out. It's so far it's been a little bit fun, as I said, I just talk about all the news that's going on recently in the NBA that's been happening in the last couple days that I might have not talked about in the previous episode, but that's again basically how it goes. And again, I really hope you guys enjoy this, and I'm gonna want to see what news I talk about. But that's enough yapping from me. Let's see what's going on in the basketball world. So, in today's episode, we have a lot to talk about, and to kick things off, let's talk about first the Rockets and Nets trade. A couple days ago, the Rockets and Nets would do a trade for picks, which would see the Brooklyn Nets trading a 2025 and 2027 pick, which was originally the Phoenix Suns, and also with a chance to receive the 2029 first round. It was like a pick swap in exchange for getting the franchise's 2025 and 2027 picks, again, that were originally the Brooklyn Nets picks. This was a very good decision to get back their picks, especially since next year's draft is going to have some really good players and is to be considered a very good draft by a lot of people, especially since they have a player like Cooper Flag that will be in it. As for the Houston Rockets, at first, this seemed like a very confusing trade as to why Houston would want to bring these picks back, especially the ones that were originally the Phoenix Suns picks. And this actually leads on to our next news that we need to talk about, which was, some people were theorizing as to why the Rockets would want these picks, which is because KD to the Houston Rockets? After the Houston and Nets trade, it was announced by Adrian Woj that apparently the reason why the Houston Rockets wanted to get the Suns picks in the first place was apparently they were potentially trying to trade for Kevin Durant. The Houston Rockets, when it comes to this idea of getting Kevin Durant, I personally don't see this as a good idea and why they would want to do this. You're doing an amazing rebuild right now, and now all of a sudden you want to ruin all that? Well, potentially ruin all that, just so you can get back a top star player who right now is not trying to wait for these young guys to get better and has a win now mindset. And again, you have no guarantee that you're even going to win this. So why even do this in the first place? You have players like Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., and I believe his name is pronounced Alperen Sengun. The baby Jokic is what people call him. They're all looking great. So I don't see why you would want to ruin all that. Now, it was also reported that apparently on Instagram, Kevin Durant's agent would claim these rumors as false, that it is not going to happen, which calmed a couple people down with this news and hasn't really been talked about that much. But to just, also play devil's advocate, I guess, Kevin Durant's agent is not a part of the Houston Rockets front office, so he really doesn't know what decisions they're going to try to make. So there is still a possibility that this is true and Houston really does want to get Kevin Durant. Again, I don't know why they would want to do that, or if Kevin Durant would even be interested in going to Houston, but for now, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. It seems like from what the reports had also said, that Houston's just kind of sitting and waiting to see what happens with Phoenix and that whole team if they try to blow it up or anything. So it seems they might not get him this offseason, but I guess they're going to wait till potentially next offseason to see if they could grab Kevin Durant. Again, we will just have to wait and see on that. Next up, we have two things to talk about when it comes to the New York Knicks, and the first thing that I'll talk about them is, nothing crazy. We just heard that they did some trade and, got back a certain player, and who's that player that we got back? It's no one crazy. It's just Mikal Bridges. On Tuesday, June 25th, it was reported that the Nets and Knicks would make a trade that would see the Nets get back a haul of picks. Those picks that they got were 4 unprotected picks, with the years being 2025, 2027, 2029, and 2031. They would also get a 2025 protected Milwaukee first, a 2028 unprotected pick swap, and a 2025 second round pick. They would also get back Bojan Bogdanovic. Yeah, like I said, this was a crazy haul for the Nets. As for the New York Knicks, they would get Mikal Bridges and a 2026 second round pick. This, in my opinion, was a great trade on both sides, because for the Knicks, you finally finished the Villanova Infinity Gauntlet, getting Mikal Bridges. As for the Brooklyn Nets, they are obviously on a rebuild right now when it comes to how their team is looking, so getting back all these picks, what was it like? If I look on here, again, it was 4 unprotected, then you had the Milwaukee, then you had a 2028 and 2025. You got 7 picks back, and then you also had the Rockets one where you got like 4 or 5. So you got like between like 11 to 12 picks from those two teams. That's a lot of picks for you guys, which is amazing since again they are trying to do a rebuild. And it just made sense because there's really no point in trying to get back Mikal Bridges. Now, when it came to this trade, it was very shocking because the New York Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets, I think I talked about this in the video I did where I was reacting to Mikal Bridges getting traded to the New York Knicks, which you can check out. It's going to be right around here somewhere. I'll put it there on the screen so you can go check it out. The last time they did a trade was in 1983. But even back then, it wasn't even anyone crazy that the Nets and Knicks would trade for each other. So this was like a big thing for NBA history, seeing these two teams do trades. And when it came to the trade overall, there was a lot of people that were saying the Knicks got fleeced when it came to this trade. Now, I understand why they would say that because, again, the Nets got back a huge haul when it came to picks and also got a player back. But I feel like people have to really understand when it comes to this trade. The Knicks and Nets are rivals. So because of this, this was again going to be a trade where the Nets were going to ask back for a lot more than they probably would have asked for any other team. Because again, why would they want to help the Knicks? If they're going to help them, they're going to try to also screw them over by, trying to get something back. And the Knicks, since they have so many picks already, and it was told by the front office that they are going to try to use these picks to get players, it just made sense just giving the Nets whatever they wanted. Now, again, I do agree that was a lot of picks to get back for a player like Mikal Bridges, but I feel like this will be worth it in the end, since, again, he is a great player. He has amazing team chemistry already with 3 of our players since they all played together in Villanova, and we've already seen how it looks when the Villanova boys all play with each other. So I have huge confidence that this trade will end up looking very good for the New York Knicks later on. And like I said, just a good trade overall. And especially it was an amazing trade because of the next news that we heard when it comes to the New York Knicks. And the news that we would hear when it comes to the Knicks would be that the New York Knicks would re-sign OG Anunoby. On Wednesday, June 26, it was announced by Adrian Woj that the New York Knicks were successful in re-signing OG Anunoby, giving him a contract that was 5 years for 2. Hold on, guys. I think I might be seeing things. It says 2. It was 5 years for $212.5 million. With the re-signing of OG Anunoby, this now makes the New York Knicks look like a very scary team, and now makes them look like actual contenders for the NBA championship. Now, all they need to try to do now is try to re-sign Isaiah Hartenstein back, which is obviously going to be a challenge now that they gave OG Anunoby so much money. And again, I am very, very happy for the Knicks in getting back OG Anunoby, but I still stand with what I said in my previous videos, which was that this just seems like too much money to give to OG Anunoby. Because again, with the time he was with us and throughout his whole career, he's had a lot of times where he's very injury prone. So taking this is a very big risk. And of course, I know they really didn't want to lose him in free agency, but again, I just feel like that was just really too much money to give him. Now, at this point, there's really nothing we can do. It is what it is because they signed him. He's on the team now. So all I can hope is that OG can stay healthy. And now, with the team having two wings, being Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, this looks fantastic. Again, if we can get back Isaiah Hartenstein, we really could look like the best team potentially heading into the new season. The next news that we will talk about is about some coach signings that happen. So we have two coaches that end up getting some contracts, with the first one being the new Cavaliers head coach, which, from what the news reports here, the Cavaliers would sign Golden State Warriors assistant Kevin Atkinson. I think that's how you say his name. I apologize if I butchered your name. And we would also get news that the Minnesota Timberwolves would re-sign, how do you say his name again? Would re-sign Chris Finch, I think that's how you say his name, in a multi-year deal that would have him stay in Minnesota. Now, I don't know much about these two coaches. Obviously, I know a little bit more about the Timberwolves head coach because, he's been with them, I think, for at least 1 or 2 years now, a couple years. He's been doing a good job with playing with them. But again, I don't really have much to say when it comes to these two getting signed. So all I'll say is congrats to both for getting contracts done, and I wish them the best of luck. Now, let's move on to the next news. Next up, we are going to talk about some re-signings that happened for a couple teams. So we saw a lot of players coming back in these past couple days and re-signing back with the team, since the NBA made a new rule now that they can talk to their players to kind of stop the whole tampering thing. So I have a list here on my phone that I'm going to read through when it comes to all the players. So the first one we have on here is Bam Adebayo getting a 3-year, $166 million extension. That was a no-brainer there. Bam Adebayo has been great for the Miami Heat, and with him still being pretty young, it just made sense to keep him on the team. The next one was Jamal Murray, 4 years for $209 million. Again, another no-brainer. Jamal Murray has been the second star to the Nuggets, basically the Robin to Jokic's Batman, and he's just been a great player to watch. I'm hoping to see them this year, see if they can maybe get another championship with those two as their dynamic duo, but we'll have to see on that. The next guy is Nick Claxton. He got 4 years, $100 million. This, again, was another nothing that really surprised me, because I felt like with the Nets rebuilding, they want to keep back at least some of their young guys, and Nick Claxton is still very young, so re-signing him back on the team, and especially with how great he is as a center, was such a great idea, because there were reports that a lot of other teams were going to try to go after him if he was available, especially a team like the Thunder that's been trying to get back all these players so they can just go straight to next year being title contenders, which they already look like that again. And the last one I have on here when it comes to people re-signing was actually Emmanuel Quickley. Emmanuel Quickley was another player that I was telling everyone that they should try to look at when it came to this year's free agency, because I thought he was just definitely going to be a good piece for any championship team. Now, unfortunately, he would re-sign back with the Raptors for a 5-year, $175 million contract. So, unfortunately, no one's going to be able to get him unless they try to trade for him, but I don't think anyone's going to really try to trade for someone having that much money. When it comes to the Raptors, this was, again, a great player to get back. He's such a great player, and he's been wanting to do more for a team. I believe they have him as the point guard right now, or the shooting guard, but regardless, he's just a great player to have on this Raptors team that's also looking for a rebuild, because they also would re-sign back Scotty Barnes. I don't know, did I talk about the Scotty Barnes one? Oh, I missed that one. I apologize. Scotty Barnes would also get a contract re-signing back with the Raptors for 5 years, and it was $270 million. So that was also another crazy contract, and just made sense for the Raptors bringing Scotty Barnes back. So with their rebuild, it seems like they're going to keep those two guys, kind of try to help build with this new team. So we'll see how that goes. As far as I know, that seems to be all the ones, as I said, so far that on my list here I can see. Overall, I'm very happy that they made this new rule, the NBA, because again, it was just annoying when some teams would try to do some tampering, especially I know the Knicks were a big one. That's how we got Jalen Brunson, and I'm happy we have Jalen Brunson, but it's still annoying that teams would try to tamper and stuff and not give the current team the opportunity to try to bring them back. So now that they have the opportunity to just throw some good money at them and hope that they want to re-sign is awesome too. As you can see, the players can also persuade the team. As for the Knicks, where OG would end up making the Knicks break and give him that $212.5 million contract, which again is just insane to think about. That's all I got to say when it comes to the re-signing. So let's move on to the next and final thing to talk about for today's episode. Now, the last news that I'll talk about on here is honestly just about a couple trades that ended up happening throughout this whole week that I didn't make any videos or talk about. So I'm going to put it on the screen so you guys can see everything when it comes to the trades. So you're not going to see my face for this last part of the segment, but this is all the trades that happened since I last talked to you guys about any trade stuff. The first trade was the Wizards trading Denny for Malcolm Brogdon, a 2029 first-round pick, the 14th pick from this year's draft, which they would use to draft point guard Bob Carrington, and 2 second-round picks. This was very strange because Denny had such a very good year, seeing him go up in points, rebounds, and assists, just to name some. I will say, with the Wizards drafting Alex Sarr, I think having a vet like Malcolm will be a good player alongside Sarr. The next trade was the Atlanta Hawks sending AJ Griffin to the Houston Rockets for the 44th pick from this year's draft. Not much to say, Griffin didn't play that many games with Atlanta this year, so trading him didn't really come much as a huge surprise for anyone, I think. Next, the Kings traded Davion Mitchell, Sasha Vanenskov, I think is how you say his last name, and the 45th pick in this year's draft to the Raptors for Jalen McDaniels. Again, not much to say on this for either, whether it comes to the Kings, whoever they traded, and the Raptors, so we're just going to move on. The Nuggets would trade Reggie Jackson to the Charlotte Hornets for 3 second-round picks. The next trade was the Mavericks trading Tim Hardaway Jr. and 3 second-round picks to the Detroit Pistons for Quentin Grimes. This shouldn't have come out as a huge surprise after how Hardaway has been this season for the Mavs, and just overall was not a player many Mavs fans liked having on the team. So getting a young player back like Grimes, who I will tell you Mavs fans is a great player, was definitely the right move to make. The Mavs needed more shooters, and Grimes is definitely a shooter that you would want on your team. Again, we didn't really get to see much of that, I believe, when he went to Detroit, just because Detroit is a terrible franchise to be around, so I wouldn't even blame him if he didn't want to try that hard. So I don't know, but I'm just glad they got him out of there. Now, when it comes to Tim Hardaway Jr. going to Detroit, hey man, you did terrible, especially during that finals. So they had to put you somewhere because the Mavericks did not want you back. And again, this is a good piece to bring to the Dallas Mavericks. Grimes is a great shooter. They need some more shooters on the team, so just a good fit overall. And the last one I will talk about is about DeJounte Murray getting traded to the New Orleans Pelicans in exchange for Larry Nance Jr., Dyson Daniels, and a 2025 and 2027 first-round picks. I really don't know how the Pelicans got DeJounte for just that. I honestly was expecting a lot more in return for him. But this is definitely a great player to put alongside Zion and Ingram that will hopefully help them stay as contenders. But that's really all I got when it comes to all the trades that happened throughout this week. Now, if any others end up happening after the making of this video, I'll probably just talk about it in episode 3, so it's really no big deal there. And with that, that is the end of episode 2 of the Big Basketball News. I hope you all enjoyed episode 2 and was able to learn some stuff that maybe you just didn't know about when it comes to what's going on in the NBA. Again, this is a series that I'm trying to do at least once a week. As you can see, we are able to potentially have, well, depending on when this video gets uploaded, it should be uploaded by Saturday. So that's 2 videos already we've done this week. I'm going to try to be pretty try to bring these videos out as quick as possible, whether it's like 2 days apart or something, just because there's so much to talk about when it comes to the NBA, especially now that we're in the off season and the free agency is coming up very, very soon. which also I was thinking about, if you guys made it this far, I was thinking about doing potentially a live stream. I'll probably do a community post talking about it, see if you guys are interested in me trying to go live for it, because with the time that it's supposed to happen, I should be able to have time to do a live stream for you guys, just to react to all of you, to see where every team goes. Because even though we already have a lot of players re-signing back with the team, which does make free agency a little bit lame now that we know a lot of the top star guys are going back with whoever team they were originally with. But it's still fun just to see with these other players. Maybe there's a piece that will really help a team go from just a conference contenders to an NBA Finals contenders. You just never know. But with that out of the way, as always, I'm your host, Jeremy, and I hope you all have a great day.